Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our event, the American Heart Association's event tonight. We're going to be having a good evening. My name is Michelle Davenport, and this is the month of May, so it is the Stroke Awareness Month. So our event tonight is Women's Stroke Month Wellness Webinar. And again, I welcome you all. I am a mom, I'm a wife, grandmother of 14, one great grand and one great grand on the way. I am a nurse. I have been a nurse for 30 years. I think I look a little bit young. Maybe I look 30. But yes, I have been a nurse 30 years. And this is also, we just ended National Nurses Week yesterday. So I am applauding myself. There's another nurse on the line today. And the other nurses, Happy Nurses Week to you as well, if any other nurses joined us. I also am graduating with my doctorate this year. I'm 97% done. Yay to myself. I will be Dr. Michelle Davenport, and I am so excited. Also, some know, but not all, I survived COVID this year. So I am thanking God I'm even able to be on this webinar with you tonight because it was not easy. 5 members of my family, we all had it at the same time. And then the last thing you need to know about me, very short story. I'm also a stroke survivor. I'm a longtime volunteer of American Heart Association. I had a stroke when I was 37 years old. I was selected as one of the spokeswomen in 2017, and I've been volunteering ever since. And I go all around trying to make sure and share with others the importance of being seen quickly when you do have that stroke symptoms. So we're going to have an awesome, awesome night. As you see, I do have all the activities of my limbs. So I did survive that stroke, but it surely could have been so different. So just a few housekeeping things before we get started. Again, welcome. I'm excited and I truly hope that you are. A reminder, this is being recorded and there will be a link shared with you in your email later with additional resources. Today's webinar is also closed captioned. And you can see as it's scrolling right now. Feel free to post your questions in the chat box. We are going to address them at the end of our panel presentations, so please put those questions in the chat. We ask you to be respectful with those comments, and please know that we do reserve the right to remove anyone from this meeting who's not being respectful. Friendly reminder that the Twin Cities Heart Walk digital experience is Saturday, May 22nd. You know, with COVID, we all had to make changes in our lives. So there's going to be a free link and it's already being presented there in the chat box. So make sure to join us on May 22nd. It was an awesome time last year, and I'm sure we've even grown more this year. So now again, I'm excited. We have 3 local panelists here today, and I know all 3 of them. One from being a young girl in the church, another one we grew up together in the church, and another speaker, she is the president of the organization. I'm going to say, I won't say it yet because I'm going to introduce her, but she and I have been together for many years as well. So we're going to be talking about heart healthy habits, including stress management, healthy lifestyle tips. And as you can see the agenda on the screen, then we're going to be reducing stroke risk in moms. And again, the questions will be at the end, and then 7 p.m., our event will conclude. So I am going to get ready to introduce our speakers. Again, an email link will be sent to you later today. So our first panelist, this is a young lady I've known since she was a little young lady in church. This is Melinda Montgomery, certified health coach and founder of Simply SenseAbility, a health coaching business that provides support and encouragement while guiding clients to learn and practice healthier eating choices. Her passion is to empower people to live healthier lives. She has her bachelor's of science in food science and has almost 2 decades of food industry experience as a food product developer. She has also presented at different local health events for American Heart Association and also American Cancer Society. Next, Kimberly Brown. She and I grew up in church together. She is also a longtime volunteer of American Heart Association. She's an amazing singer, and we grew up singing in church together. For more than 40 years, she has been singing her heart out. She is a former member of the 3-time Grammy Award-winning group Sounds of Blackness. She was on Sounds of Blackness for 15 years. She toured around the world and worked with many other national artists. She works extensively in her local industry as a singer, songwriter, director, vocal coach, speaker, and as the director of music ministries at her local church, which is First Trinity Church of God in Christ in Fridley, Minnesota. She also directs the fellowship choir for the Minnesota Second Ecclesiastical Fellowship Church of God in Christ. She is very committed to volunteerism and give of her time, talent, and finances to support various charities. And our last presenter today, this is who I work with side by side in our organization here in the Twin Cities. Kelly Robinson is a member of the American Heart Association, Minnesota Advocacy and Community Impact Committee. She's a nurse care coordinator for WestStat Research. She also supports participants locally through RISE Incorporated and is, I'll say that again, is the president of the Black Nurses Rock Twin Cities chapter. And we all just got a Daisy Award, and she may talk a little bit about that. Awesome achievement for the Twin Cities chapter. Kelly is an experienced registered nurse for the past 26 years. She began her career in Atlanta, Georgia, having worked in the areas of post-op orthopedics, oncology, pain management, operating room, behavioral health, and research. So let's get started. We're going to start with Miss Montgomery. She will show that stress can be good or bad when it is manageable and it helps us improve our performance. It is interest. When stress becomes overwhelming and we feel trapped, that is de-stress. We may not be able to make de-stress go away, but we can help our minds and bodies better manage distress. Miss Montgomery will teach about managing distress before it becomes overwhelming and harmful to our bodies. I introduce to you Melinda Montgomery.
Thank you, Sister Michelle. I appreciate that introduction. Did a great job. It's nice to see you again virtually. Hello, everyone. I'm Melinda again, Montgomery from SenseAbility, a health coaching practice, a business that I have to help empower people to be healthier in their lives. And so I want to paint a picture for you, just a small picture. So you're cruising along, right? Overall, life is good. You know, you encounter stressful situations, but you can handle it. You know, as a matter of fact, a little stress helps you perform better. But then you start to feel overwhelmed, your mood changes, you're tired, you're experiencing headaches, and maybe even some stomach issues. This is when stress is overwhelming and is disruptive. And this is why stress management is so important. We want to get away from that. So e-stress, as Sister Michelle had just mentioned, is the good stress. It helps you perform better. It helps you do what you need to do and get through life. But the distress is when you're starting to feel overwhelmed. You're feeling flooded. So we want to help avoid that situation as often as possible. So let's talk about first long-term effects of distress. So it affects you not only mentally, but it also affects you physically. So your emotional well-being, um, we're looking at serotonin levels that are reduced. So that's responsible for your mood. So you're not in as good a mood. Cardiovascular disease, your risk goes up when you're stressed because you have higher blood pressure. That could lead to issues, obviously, stroke, like what we're talking about today. And also, when you're under that fight or flight situation, you're stressed, distressed, you're also having an increase in cortisone. So that increase in cortisone causes your body to respond to insulin differently than if you weren't stressed. So that could lead to type 2 diabetes. So we don't want that either. And finally, that increased cortisol, they're looking at how it might actually change the way the bacteria that's in your gut that helps you digest your food, that might change with that increased level of cortisol. So that could be a cause of intestinal discomfort, stomach issues. IBS is a common one that they're trying to look at the link between that. So those are issues, serious issues that we don't want, right? So how does managing stress make life better? So I think the biggest and the best reason, honestly, is that you feel better overall. We all want to feel better. We all want to feel healthy. We want to feel empowered. And so that is one of the biggest benefits I feel you get from managing your stress. You're also more productive because you're not in fight or flight mode. Fight or flight mode means that you're using up your resources. You're using a lot of energy in ways that aren't getting you to your goals. So if you want to, do things in life, but you're too busy being, in that fight or flight, if I can say the word, your brain that allows you to do creative and productive things, innovative things, that part of your brain doesn't have the resources it needs to get moving because we're so busy trying to survive. So we want to definitely not have that part, not have the fight or flight mode going all the time. There's a purpose for it, but not all the time. And the other reason I want to express is that you're in a better mood. Who wants to be around people that are grumpy? Nobody wants to be around grumpy people. So being in a better mood, being more productive, feeling better overall sounds like a great reason to incorporate some stress management techniques into your life. But let's remember, distress will not go away because we're on this side of heaven. So there's always going to be some issues. There's always going to be something that's going to be a little bit stressful to us. But what we do want to do is learn how to be more resilient. And so when we're more resilient, we're able to better handle those situations. So that's what we're working for. Now, first and foremost, I have to say this first, and I apologize, Kim, if I'm a little bit on your message here, but stress management doesn't work if you haven't done the foundational work. So the foundational work would be eating healthier. Your body has to have the resources in order to do what you need it to do. So when we're eating foods that provide vitamins and minerals and other nutrients that we need, carbohydrates, fats, proteins, those things allow our body to be able to function even if we're slightly stressed. And so we want to make sure that we're eating healthy and we're incorporating those foods into our lives daily, at least very regularly. The second thing, exercise. Exercise is so important, and it's actually a stress reducer. So when I say exercise, I know a lot of people are just like, ugh, I don't want to do, run on the treadmill, and I don't want to bike 10 miles. We're not even talking about that. We're just talking about even 10 minutes. And especially if you're a person who is not exercising currently, 5-10 minutes can make a huge difference in stress and in your health, period, especially if you're not a typical exerciser. So I would encourage you, there's no step that's too small. Start small and move up from there. And the third thing that I think is really, really critical is having social support. And that's something that we don't necessarily emphasize because we think about the physical, I need to do things physically to make myself less stressed. But that social component makes a big difference. If you have your family or your friends or your church, those people you can talk to, those trusted friends. You can't tell everybody everything, but there's some people that you can confide in and let them know what's going on. Because when we keep things in our head, it makes it big. It just stays big and it stays in our head. But when we are able to talk and communicate with other people, that's when we can kind of manage things more, and you can get different ideas from other people. And if you're a little bit like me, where you don't necessarily communicate, your feelings so well, you can write them down in a journal. You can, and then share that journal entry with someone else if you just need a way to kind of organize things before you go. So again, the better that we're able to handle stress, that's going to provide us that buffer so that we can avoid a lot of the negative side effects that being stressed leaves us depleted. So again, eating healthy, exercising regularly, and getting that social support. Now, here's what you can do to help make things better. So I have a little acronym that I put together. It's ATT. So what we're going to do is we're going to have awareness of what is stressing us, because sometimes we're stressed and we don't even know why. So take some time to understand what am I upset about? What is causing me all this anxiety? What is causing me all of this stress? Figure out what that is. Number 2 is T. So T is time. So determine, okay, now that I know what this stressor is this a short-term stressor? Like I have a test that's coming up, or I have a speech, or I have a review coming up, and so there's a pretty quick end to it, so acute stress? Or is this more of a long-term stress where I'm taking care of a loved one, or I'm afraid for something, for a loved one, or something is going on that's going to be a lot longer than something that is acute. So how we deal with those two situations is going to be different. So determine what the time is for that. And then the other thing is getting a toolbox. So what is in our toolbox? We're going to talk about some tools. I don't have a list of all the tools, but just some basic ones that are easy for you to try yourself. And we'll go from there. But before we discuss the tools, and before I get to it again, it's again, A for awareness. What is the stressor? T is time. How long is the stressor going to be? Short term, long term. T, tool. What tool would be best for the situation? Now, to my disclaimer, stress management tools are not a replacement for rest and relaxation, extended vacation, because our bodies are made to relax. Genesis tells us God made the earth and he rested. Now, if God has to rest, and he didn't really have to, he chose to, then we definitely need to rest. He modeled that for us. So we need to also take some time to rest and relax and rejuvenate our bodies. So that's what I want to definitely make clear, that this is not a replacement for downtime or for relaxation or extended vacations. If you need a vacation, please take that. It's worth it. It might feel like it's going to be more of a trouble than it is, but it's really not. Your body is worth it. You are worth it. Take that time to do that for yourself. Now, let's talk about stress relief. We're going to talk about a gratitude log. So the first tool is a gratitude log. Now, this is a longer term tool. You're not going to see immediate results doing this, but what happens is, as you continue to write one line of gratitude or you can do an entire paragraph. If you're, more into writing, you can write as long as you like, but just start every day logging what you're grateful for. You can either do this first thing in the morning, and it can kind of set your mood to be more positive. Because sometimes we get so into the negative and so into what's going wrong that we forget, there are things going right, but sometimes the negative things are just so blatant that we can't see those positive things that are going right. But taking the time to write them down using a pen and paper, or if you're more electronically inclined, use your phone and just write that down. If you don't want to do it in the morning, you can do it at the end of the day. Just, what am I grateful for the end of today? Write those things down. So that's one tool, having a gratitude log. Another one could be meditation or prayer or both. So in my case, I do both. I like prayer, but I also like meditation, because meditation allows you to sit there for a minute, because we like to talk to God, and I like to talk to God too, but sometimes we do more talking than listening. So having that time for meditation to be just sit there and quietly and hear what God puts into your heart, what he puts into your mind. Great tool to help you. I've learned quite a bit doing it that way. I've heard different things from God that, if you're a person of faith, then that's, to me, that's valuable. So taking that time, and you don't have to, because people talk about meditation, 20 minutes, 45 minutes. Let's start real simple. If you're not used to meditating, go 2 minutes. If 2 minutes ends up being too long, then go 30 seconds. Just, again, baby stepping things until you get to where you want to be, because meditation practice is your practice. So there's no right or wrong. It's just however you decide you want to do it. Some of the things that happens, which is completely natural, your mind wanders a little bit. That's okay. Your mind will wander. Just bring yourself back. You could use a trigger word. Grace was my trigger word. Like when my mind started thinking about problems instead of thinking about me sitting there, I would say grace, 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 and just to get myself back into that position rather than just, because your mind will run wild. You don't want to do, you don't necessarily want to do that, but you also don't want to shame yourself for letting it run wild. It's okay. We all do it. You just get used to it after a while. Another one we kind of talked about is walking or exercising. So that has more of an immediate impact too. So grabbing 5 to 10 minutes to take a quick walk, especially in nature, because they've noticed some studies have shown how nature helps calm us down anyway. So if you're outside and you're taking a walk in nature, that can really calm you down. And even better is if you can bring a friend. Go out there and you can both enjoy nature. You can enjoy community while you're walking. That helps relieve stress too. So if you can't do those things, the 5-10 minutes, do what you can. If it's only 2 minutes because you're walking to the water cooler and you're walking back, or you're walking to in COVID time, to your kitchen and you're walking back, that's fine. Just kind of, take a time to breathe and step away from things and calm yourself down. Now, my favorite one, last tool, is deep breathing. So I enjoy doing, usually about 2 minutes. So what I do is I concentrate on my breath pattern. So you're filling up your lungs with air and then you're letting it all out. So this also allows the front part of your brain, which is your thinking, your critical mind, to get some oxygen. Because when we're in fight or flight mode, you tend to, react versus actually thinking about, okay, what's really going on here? So so you're concentrating on your natural breathing pattern. So I don't like to do it too much, too much deep breathing and too much, completely out breathing. So what I do is I start to breathe in, start to breathe out, and then I just get into more of a natural breathing pattern. And I'm just aware of how I'm breathing. I'm slowing my breathing down, especially if it's kind of quick and labored. So that's another tool that you can use. So the gratitude log, you can do that, longer term results, meditation. You can do walking or any other kind of exercise that you enjoy, especially in nature. And then deep breathing would be your next pattern or next tool that you could use. Now, again, it's a toolbox. So there's not one tool that works for every situation. What I would do is I would try one tool, see how it works, see if it's not going to be perfect. So that's okay. Just try them a couple of times, try different ones in different situations and see what works for you when you're trying to help your stress management. But I definitely encourage you to try something, because stress management is really important, because I want people to not feel overwhelmed. You don't want to be in that mode, because that's a horrible place to be, is when you're feeling overwhelmed and when you're feeling alone. So definitely give all of them a try. But if you're feeling super overwhelmed, I will put this disclaimer in there. Please go get some help from therapy or from therapy, because if you're super overwhelmed to the point where you can hardly function, then that's a deeper issue, and stress management is not going to help you do that. You can incorporate this after you've gone and gotten your therapy, but don't use this to try to solve that problem if you're to the point where you're not functioning well as a person in your job, in your life, period. So definitely don't do that. So what I want to do is, we have a few minutes left before my time is up. I'd like us to try the deep breathing for 30 seconds. We'll only do it for 30 seconds, so you don't have to panic. And we're just going to take air in through our nose, and you can either let it out through your mouth or you can let it out through your nose, depending on what you want to do. And then just naturally kind of go into your normal breathing, just breathing in. And you can have eyes open, eyes closed. And I will watch the time to make sure that we don't go over 30 seconds. So, all right, are you ready? I'm assuming you are. Ready and go. Okay. Hopefully that felt pretty good, and you're ready to go with the next speaker. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you, Sister Melinda. That was a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful presentation. Can we just please applaud her for that wonderful presentation? And yes, we're going to go to Sister Kimberly Brown if she is ready.
I am ready. Hello there. Hello, everyone. I'm really glad to be here. I am excited to be a part of this webinar. So first, I'd like to thank the American Heart Association.
Kimberly, it looks like you're on mute.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, there's that popular cell phone company phrase, right? Can you hear me now? Well, first, let me say how excited I am to be here. My name is Kimberly Brown. I have been with the American Heart Association as a volunteer since 2007. I'm really excited to be a part of this webinar, and I want to thank the local office. I want to thank the American Heart Association Twin Cities staff for allowing us to host today's webinar, and especially to my sister friends on the panel with me. If you notice, they keep saying Sister Michelle, Sister Melinda. We all know each other from church. And so we're all just sisters, Sister Kelly. So it's common if you hear us say that, that is why. I want to also acknowledge that I was kind of waiting on Michelle to mention it, but I am the grant recipient, the first place grant recipient for the 2021 Business Accelerator grant. So again, thank you, American Heart Association, for that. Before I go on, let me just say, Michelle, you look really good. And I maybe would have went with a 30, but when you said you had a stroke at 37, you kind of gave it away. So I just had to bring that up. I bet the other ladies were doing the math. So again, happy belated Mother's Day to all of the mothers here. Women, I'm going to be sharing some tips with you, and I want you to know how strong and how powerful you are. We just had International Women's Month in March, and we had Women's Health Month, Heart Health Month in February, and now this is Women's Stroke Month. But listen, you should be celebrated every day, every month. So we're going to say that every day is Women's Day, and every month we should be celebrating ourselves. And we want to be healthy. We don't want to just live, but we want to have a wonderful quality of our life as we live. So my first thing I want to tell you is be in charge of your health. If you're not already in charge of your health, get in charge of your health. Be your own advocate and advocate for yourself, which might mean if you haven't been to the doctor, if you haven't had a physical in the last year, the first thing I'm going to encourage you to do is pick up the phone and make an appointment for yourself. Do it for yourself and do it for the ones that you love. So, got that out of the way. When you go to the doctor, they're going to give you that little sheet when you're done with all of your information on it, and we want you to know your numbers. So, what numbers? Your weight, your blood pressure, your cholesterol, your glucose, or any areas that you've had issues or concern with. We want you to get those numbers, and we want you to know your numbers. That's the first thing that's going to help you get in charge of your own health. So make an appointment, get your numbers. If you are a smoker, the American Heart Association and health professionals everywhere tell us that smoking is not good. So I'm not beating you up. I'm not bashing you. I know it can be difficult to quit, but we want to encourage you to put those cigarettes down, put more money in your pocket, and live a longer, healthier life. So that's another tip. Make an appointment, know your numbers, stop smoking. Melinda kind of mentioned it a little bit, but you got to get the right amount of sleep. You can't be healthy overdoing it. Melinda, you're right. The health tips and the stress, they kind of go hand in hand. So I'm going to encourage you, really encourage you to know how much your body needs. So listen, ladies, no one knows your body better than you do. So they say 8 hours, maybe 7 is good. Maybe you need 8.5, maybe you need 9, but whatever you need, you're gonna have to make sure that you get it. So here's a tip. You might not think of it as a health tip, but here's a tip for you. Learn to say no. I know I'm talking to somebody today that needs to learn to say no. I struggled with it for a long time because we want to be everything to everybody. As women, we care, we love, we care a lot, we love deep. We just want to do it. But you know what? You got to learn to say no. You got to put yourself first. You got to love you enough to take care of yourself so that you can be here for other people. So that's one of my health tips today. Say no. I know you're sitting there by yourself watching it. Just say no. Listen to yourself. Hear yourself say no. Unfortunately, I won't be able to do that. Or catch me next time. Or I would really love to participate, but I'm just not able to. So if you need to say no, say no. Melinda Montgomery already talked about reducing stress. And I have to throw this in there. She is amazing. I work with Melinda. I'm one of her clients. I'll talk about Get Up, Get Moving in just a minute, but she has been so instrumental in helping me get my own health in charge. So Simple SenseAbility is also amazing. But you want to reduce the stress. But one of the tools that she didn't mention in the toolbox is music. And so I'm going to throw that in there because music can be relaxing and soothing. We have this new term now, mindfulness, that helps us reduce stress. And so all of these are great tools. But as a health tip, you want to make sure you get proper sleep. And that's one of the good ways that you can help reduce stress. We want you to do something. We want you to leave this webinar better than when you came. So we want you to make better nutrition choices. I said I've struggled with weight down through the years, and I have, because listen, ladies, I love food. If you're like me, I love the taste, I love the smell, I love the sight, I love everything about it. But guess what? I have to learn how to manage that. And so I had to start making better choices. You know, I crossed the 50 threshold a couple of years back. And so I don't want to just live. I want to be mobile. I want to have my sound mind. I want to be able to enjoy life. And in order to do that, I had to get a really good grip on my health. So that means I can't have the fried chicken every day. No, you can't have the ice cream and the sugar and the pop every day. You have to learn how to balance. So I am encouraging you to make better nutrition choices. If you need to pull back a little bit for lunch because you know you're going out for dinner, make sure you do that. We absolutely have to balance. So I want to remind you that you have the power. You have the power to change your own life, to get it get in charge of it and do what you need to do so that you can be better. I wrote a song called Her Song, and it's empowering women, and it's telling us how awesome and how amazing we are. And we also have to share that message with each other. It says, you know, call her up and tell her that you love her, tell her that she matters, and tell her that she can win. Now, I mentioned a few moments ago that I won the business Accelerator grant for a program called Get Up and Get Moving. Get Up, Get Moving. Yep, there's another song called Get Up, Get Moving. And you might want to check it out as you're walking or doing your exercise. It has a 30-day challenge. And some of the tips that I just mentioned are a part of this Get Up, Get Moving challenge. The two things we really focus on is better nutrition choices and physical activity. Melinda talked about stress. You want to stress me out a while back? Tell me that I have to exercise. Tell me that I got to walk a mile. Tell me I got to go to the gym or get on some cardio machine. That was so stressful, but it changed my life. And it's helping me have better health. Those are the two things that we want you to remember is better nutrition choices and becoming physically active. She said it, small steps, just baby steps. We want you to do something. You may not be able to fix everything at one time, but you can do something. Start out 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, and just slowly improve as you're able to. So those are my health tips. I just want to encourage you to get in charge of your health, be your own advocate. Again, you know your body better than anybody else does. And if a doctor's telling you nothing's wrong and you know something is, you know what? Maybe you're going to have to find another one. But remember, stop smoking, get sleep, get a proper amount of sleep, and just do the things that you know to do. And we're here for you. The American Heart Association website is absolutely amazing. You have the tools of the nurses organization, the Get Up, Get Moving organization, Simple SenseAbility, and all of us on this panel. I'll be here later if you have questions for me, but listen, take charge of your health. You matter. Thank you, and back to you, Michelle.
Thank you so much, Sister Kim. Yeah, like she said, it's so hard for us to just call each other by the first names because we have been in the church. And I do encourage you to look up, Google it, Get Up, Get Moving. It's a faith-centered health and wellness program that reaches the communities of color through activity challenges, nutrition, and prevention education. And as Sister Kim has said, we all have some type of struggle with our health. Yes, we all have used Sister Melinda. So all of what we've been discussing today, we have to recognize the need to take care of ourselves as what's being presented today, not just for ourselves, but for our family and also for the community, because they look to us and we all want to live and have a bright, bright future together. Thank you, Sister Kim. I applaud you, and we all applaud you today. And I wanted you to let everyone know that you were the winner this year, and I'm so proud of you. So we have one last presenter today, and that is Miss Kelly Robinson. She will help us understand more about stroke risk among mothers. May is again, as I mentioned, American Stroke Month, Wellness Month, and she's here to cover women's risk for stroke and what moms can do to prevent strokes from happening. Kelly Robinson, are you ready?
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you so much. I am honored to be here with everyone on behalf of Black Nurses Rock, as well as my colleagues with the American Heart Association that I've been with for over 10 years now. So this is quite an honor for me. I know that our time is short, so I'm going to get right on into the presentation. Reducing stroke risk in mothers. Big topic. You know, we're in a COVID environment now, and so there's a lot that's happening and a lot that we're taking on. For the past year and a half, of course, you know, we've been doing a little bit more than what we typically would do because we're at home and everybody needs us and everybody's, you know, needs need to be met. So we are everything, as we always have been, but even more so. Mom, teacher, chef, house cleaner, provider, just keeping the family together. And so we want to make sure that we take these extra steps, just as Melinda and Kimberly shared with regards to our stress, and making sure that we're conscious of our health and being proactive, taking care of self. So many don't know that they face a unique risk. And of course, that is developing high blood pressure, which is a leading cause of stroke. Advance. A mother's journey. Quite a journey it is. Being a parent, it's not easy. You know, as a mom, you have a unique experience, the pressure, responsibility. Then there's the health that comes with it, you know, which is unique. It's definitely pressure. As a parent of 2 kids of my own, even though they are adults, they're forever my children. So one of the things that I was diagnosed with in the past, I guess it's been 15 years now, is high blood pressure. Initially, I thought it was my kids that gave it to me, but that wasn't necessarily so. Genetically, I was prone to it. So as a woman, pregnancy, menopause, and all of those increase our risk for high blood pressure, and of course, a leading cause of stroke. So, you've mom during a global pandemic, and you can figure out this whole blood pressure thing. We've gotcha, and you've got this as well. And a lot of the things that we'll be sharing is things that we know, but sometimes we have to talk about it, because if we don't talk about it, then, you know, it kind of sticks in the back of our head, but we've got to be conscious of those fine things that keeps us alive and well. Advance. Understanding the risk factors. So when we look at what is typically considered normal blood pressure, we're looking at numbers that are below 120/80. Of course, there's the incidence of stroke that's always lurking there when those numbers are above 120/80. Because it presents the opportunity for a stroke to occur. About 50 years old, without blood pressure, you can live about 5 years longer, which is huge, you know. Stroke, of course, is defined mainly as when a blood vessel in the brain is blocked or bursts. And when we look at what the statistics show, it's more than 1 in 3 American adults, and that's not regarding gender, with high blood pressure. And the thing is, it's silent, and so they don't even know that they have it. You know, most people go, oh, I feel fine, you know, and have no clue. And I have a history of stroke in my family. I have an aunt who had a stroke, the one that she was aware of, about 4 years ago. And when she went to the doctor, she didn't realize it, but she had already had 3. Silent killer is what we call it. So have your blood pressure checked and keep it in check so that you can reduce those risk factors. Advance. So when we look at women, regardless of their ethnicity, 1 in 5 women has a stroke. And that's a reality. And you can see those who have been affected because it's visible in a lot of cases. And in some, it's not visible. But when we look at stroke, it is the number 4 cause of death, mainly in women. And it kills over 80,000 women a year. And then when we narrow it down to African American women, we are even higher because the prevalence of stroke is just huge for us. So nearly 50% of all adults have high blood pressure and are women. Roughly 50 million women in the US, and I am one of the 50 million. Advance. So when we talk about health and going to the doctor, I can't tell you how many times I hear this. People say, yeah, I went to the doctor and I can remember there was something I was supposed to ask, this question and so on and so forth. And it's like, go and be prepared. There are things that are occurring along the way as you go through your daily life. Make a note of it. We are always in the dollar store. Get a dollar store little magnet for your refrigerator. Write those things down so that you can be aware of what is happening and things you may have questions about, because the stroke risk increases in women who are, number 1, pregnant, may have preeclampsia, take birth control pills, use hormone replacement therapy, have migraines, and an aura, which is a sense of, it's like an indicator. You can either have a smell, or some people say they have a metallic taste when they're about to have migraines. And then, of course, those who smoke. And if you have a history of high blood pressure in your family, it's really important that you're screened for atrial fib, which is a adverse function of the heart where it's quivering. And most people will say, oh, I'm having heart palpitations. And in a lot of those cases, what it is that they're having a fibrillation of their heart. So if you're pregnant women are 3 times more likely to have a stroke as non-pregnant women. Preeclampsia is one of those conditions of high blood pressure during pregnancy. And I've had quite a few friends, they didn't develop it until later on in the pregnancy, but very, very important. A lot of women still take birth control pills. Whether you're taking the pill or you have the implant, it increases your risk of stroke. And if you're using hormone replacement therapy, it doesn't lower stroke risk if postmenopausal, as one thought, because people will think, oh, I'm above the age now. No, you're still at risk. And if you have migraines, of course, that's pressure and that's stress in the brain. So, of course, that increases your risk. And we're not going to even talk about what smoking does, because the inhalation and all of what that encompasses with your arteries and your veins and the smoking, it's definitely a higher risk. And I've already talked about the quivering aspect of the atrial fib. But there are ways that we can decrease these risk factors. When we go in to see our physicians, make sure that we're talking about a lot of the things that could affect our blood pressure. The good thing is to know your history as well. Knowing your history is vitally important. So we want you to make sure that you take action. If you know your history, check your blood pressure. Monitor your blood pressure at home. If you have, I've got a few props here. You may have seen the regular manual stuff in the office, but the most precious tool you could have is to have the automatic, because it will allow you to take your own blood pressure at home. You can slip your arms in, following the directions which is written on it, which will show exactly how to place it, take your blood pressure, and make sure that you take a few things in consideration before. Make sure you are not smoking, no exercising, no caffeinated beverages, and no alcohol before you take it, approximately 30 minutes. And make sure you're sitting still in the chair for at least 5 minutes before you take the pressure. And right before, make sure that the cup is the right size. We don't want one that's too small. We want one that's a little larger, but not too large. Make sure you wrap it and put it on correctly based on the instructions. Slide. And so relax, don't talk, because every time you take your blood pressure and you're talking, that increases the pressure when you think about the flow of the blood. Make sure you keep your legs uncrossed and sit straight with your back to the chair. If you're at home, you can wait a minute and then take a second reading and then average those readings out. If it's high, you may want to take it a third time. But the most important thing is to write it in a journal. Make sure that you keep it so that when you do go to the doctor, you can't guess at it and say, well, my blood pressure's been fine. Well, we'd love to see those numbers because fine shows us what a pattern is. Fine is good, but we'd like to see, is it high in the morning? Is it high in the evening? Take it every day, write it down various times of the day so we can see what that pattern looks like. Advance. And here's what we are shooting for. We're shooting for the blood pressure that's in the orange. Below that, we want to be aware of that 130, 139 for African American women. It's kind of an indicator for us, women overall. If you're 120, 129, generally that's considered elevation. And so we want to know exactly what those numbers are. Advance. So make the most of your appointment as I stated. Make sure that you check your blood pressure, keep a documentation or a journal of those pressure readings. With the medication, make sure that you're talking about them and if they would have an effect on your blood pressure. Of course, less salt in your diet. We have a wonderful little gift that the first 30 people, which everybody on this call will get. It's a little soul food cooking recipe book, and I've used that a lot. But make sure that you're being conscious of what you're using in your food, the salt, the spices. Look and see what has salt in it. The hidden salts is what gets us. And ask for some help in terms of, you find it hard to manage your blood pressure, so ask for what are the things that I can do. Melinda was really on it with the stress reducer. And I was right there because, I was already stressed. So thank you for that, Melinda. We want to also make sure that we're being conscious of not doing too much. And as soon as my sister Kimberly said, say no, she was talking to me, say no. Everybody wants to be everything to everybody, but you got to reduce your stress. So when you make the appointment, talk about all of these things, your medications, your blood pressure at home, and the things that you can do to reduce your stress, because we want to make sure that you're planning for success. So take care of yourself. Advance the slide. Be prepared. Make sure you learn what the signs of stroke and heart attack are in women. Advance. So know those warning signs of both, if you will. We do know that every second counts. Heart attack and stroke are life and death emergencies. Advance. So here are a few signs of heart attack warning. If you have chest discomfort, and everyone's always going to go, oh, it's indigestion. Well, no, it might be, that you're really getting the initial signs. And we're really lucky if we do have those symptoms. If you have shortness of breath, that can occur with or without the chest discomfort. Be conscious of that. Discomfort in other areas, your upper body. And sometimes this is your arms. It could be your back, your neck, your jaw, sometimes your stomach. Be conscious of that. And there are other signs that may include breaking out in a cold sweat, and it's cold outside in Minnesota, feeling nauseous, or even being lightheaded. As with men, women's most common heart attack symptoms is the chest pain or discomfort. And so that's if we're lucky. Sometimes we get no symptoms. And so that's why it's important that you check your blood pressure, know what it is, document it, so that you know whether you're in that high-risk category. Advance the slide. Stroke warning signs. Sudden numbness or weakness of the face, the arm, your leg, especially if it's on one side of the body. Could be left or right. Sudden confusion or trouble speaking or understanding, and you just feel like you're in a haze and something's going on. Your eyes kind of get double vision, sometimes just unclear. Certain trouble, difficulty with your gait and walking, or dizziness or loss of your balance and coordination, even a severe headache with no cause. You've done nothing to what you think would bring on a sudden headache. These are warning signs of a stroke. So I've got this cute little magnet that I keep on my refrigerator, and it's the acronym for FAST. Facial drooping, speech difficulty, arm weakness, and time. Because if you have any of those indicators, 911 is the very first thing that you should do. Advance the slide. Advocates. So when we think about research, it's easy to exclude ourselves, but it is so important that research goes red for women and heart disease. It is important that anytime you have the opportunity, share what your blood pressure reading is. Know and understand that if you're not a part of the study, then the study may not be accurate. So I would encourage every woman to make sure that you're giving of yourself and your time and the data, because we want to aim to empower women to make sure that we are in research. So by joining research, we can definitely go red. You can choose to contribute through research, be the first to know when studies are matching your preferences are open, because there are some studies that are specific for African Americans, and there are some that are just for women in general. Get exclusive access to updates, thought leaders in terms of all of the new information, and then ultimately learn about your own health and improve health for all. And test new technologies. We want to know the coolest thing. I just bought it, but I don't have it on. I'm a prop girl over here, but I don't have my new glove. It is a new cardio device that I'll be wearing. And everybody has the Fitbit and all that good stuff, but the new technologies, implement and use them. Put them on your Christmas list for your family and your birthday list and so on. Advance. Spread the word. Make sure that, when you go onto the American Heart Association site, you will see all of this information. And if you're on our mailing list, then you will get this automatically. Don't just read it for yourself. Post it to Facebook. Post it to your social media, whether it's Twitter or any of the others. And know that when you share this information, you don't know who you're going to touch. So it's always good to just share all of this stuff. You get it all. If you sign up on the mailing list, go to goredforwomen.org/risk and make sure you sign up for that mailing list so that you can get access to this information. If someone asks you a question, you want to get information, go here, utilize what's most up to date and ready to go. Advance. Thank you so much. I hope that something I said and shared was helpful to you. We definitely appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you again, and back to Michelle.
Thank you so much, Kelly. Can we please applaud Kelly? Thank you so much. I know we are running out of time, but we have one question that was sent in with the registration. This is to you, Melinda, Sister Melinda. With all of the incidences of loss of human life experienced within the African American communities across this nation, and in particular to Minnesota, what are some of the recommendations or tools to help mothers of males to reduce stress when worrying about their safety? Stress does cause death.
Yes, thank you for the question. Unfortunately, I'm not a mother, but I do have two brothers who are African American, and I have that concern for them, because if they do go out, you don't know if they're going to come back. And so I do a lot of praying on that situation, but I still use these tools. I still use the ones that I was mentioning about gratitude, especially because when it gets overwhelming to think about that, especially after the last incident with Dante, right? It was just like, really? Again? So that one I had to say, okay, I understand what's going on. I understand that I'm definitely concerned for my brothers and for, the brothers in general. So what can I do? I can be grateful for what I do have. I do have them right now. I'm going to cherish them and interact and connect with them as much as possible. The other thing is doing some meditation to just kind of calm yourself down. And then also deep breathing, definitely a good one. Get that support group too, because you don't have to carry that burden by yourself, because there are a lot of us who are thinking that same thing. We don't need to be alone. We should all come together as mothers and aunts and sisters. We should come together and kind of discuss those things and kind of carry that burden together rather than having each of us carry it by ourselves. So that's what I would do if I was in that situation, but I'll open it to the panel because I'm definitely not an expert. So if anyone else, Kim or Kelly, have any suggestions, or Michelle even too.
We are out of time, Sister Melinda, but what we would like all of you to do when you receive that follow-up email, put those questions in there. And to the panelists, if you have other suggestions and ideas, please, we're going to look for those emails to come in. We do want to we want to respect your time. That's why we are asking you to please put those questions in that follow-up email, because we know you have other things to do this evening. But we want to truly say thank you to American Heart Association for hosting this event. Thank you to our panelists, Sister Melinda Montgomery, Sister Kimberly Brown, Sister Kelly Robinson, to everyone that helped with moderation tonight. Technology was our friend tonight. Thank you. And to everyone that joined us, thank you. Please look for that follow-up email. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you.